Hey everyone, I hope you're well. I wanted to touch on a topic today about aiming. I think we've all experienced this in shooter games at least once before. It seems one day our aim is godlike and the next day it's absolute rubbish. It can make you feel helpless. All you want to do is play well and you know that you have the potential to do it, but somehow it's just not happening. What can we actually do to improve that consistency so that you can reach your maximum aim potential at all times? Well, I've got a selection of tips that I found useful during my years playing shooter games. I'll go into all of these and provide details on why they can work well to help you have more consistent aim. I'll put timestamps to each tip in the description. Most tips will be useful for all platforms, but some will be PC exclusive. Before we get started, let me provide some backup on why you should consider using these tips, and why you should listen to me in the first place. I don't have aim like Shroud or anything even close, but what I do have is thousands of hours playing shooter games, and during that time I've had big periods of time where I've struggled with inconsistent aim. Well, after those many thousands of hours, I have all the answers, and I can safely say I no longer have inconsistent aim so long as I follow the tips I've laid out for myself. So let me share them with you. First, let's explain how aiming actually works. It's actually pretty impressive when you think about it. Essentially, you do the same thing over and over again, and eventually your brain just gets really good at doing it. That's really all there is to being good at aiming, or being good at any mechanical skill, whether it's drawing, throwing darts, or clicking the like button on this video. You don't need to consciously do anything or tell yourself to aim each time you take a fight. Your brain just learns by itself as you play more. However, your brain can't do a consistent job if it comes into three major problems: fatigue, a change of condition, and a lack of information. Fatigue is pretty straightforward, right? If you're tired, you aren't going to perform as well. It's as simple as that. So for tip number 1, get enough sleep, eat some good food, and drink enough water. Do those things and you'll absolutely have more consistent aim. If you're not doing those things, do them. Work on your sleep pattern and try to get more water and nutrition into your diet. Sleep is easily the biggest one by far though. I'm sure there are a billion studies on how a lack of sleep impacts your reaction speed, so that's all I have to say there. The next tip, which is also related to fatigue, is to take short breaks. I've always found that if you do the same thing over and over, you kind of just stop paying attention to what you're actually doing. Taking a break could be anything from literally taking a 15-minute break to just changing your drop location. Give your brain something new to process, and that will get you more alert and focused on the game again. Once again, this will help to freshen yourself up and get your aim on point. Tip number 3 is also a strange one, but I found it used to work in Counter-Strike. So in CSGO, you can change up your crosshair. People always ended up saying how their crosshair is the best, or toot about which crosshair style and color is the best, but what I noticed is that so many people would change their crosshair and then somehow notice an improvement to their gameplay, me included. I actually think it's got very little to do with the crosshair style and more to do with changing up what you are seeing on the screen. By changing your crosshair color or design, it's like changing the scene. Suddenly there's new information to focus on. It's once again another trick to get your brain to start paying attention to what you're actually aiming at. You can't change your crosshair in Apex Legends, but you can change your skins. So swap out your skins every now and again for a vastly different color scheme. Go for as much of a difference as possible so that you're not just falling asleep at your computer. It's a strange trick, but it wakes you up a little bit. For tip 4, and for the final tip for fighting fatigue, is to talk to yourself about the decisions you are making in game. Focusing on what's actually happening instead of talking to your friends or listening to music or just not thinking at all can once again help you to stay focused, which I have found to help with my aim. So we've talked about fatigue, let's now talk about condition. Remember that I mentioned how our brains learn how to aim so long as we keep practicing. That's true, but they learn under the conditions we give them. So let's say we change setup, change mouse, or change our posture. All of these things could make a difference on how your aim is in game. So for tip number 5, I'd say get a good chair. I'm not talking about a gaming chair, they really aren't worth the price, but a good comfortable chair that allows you to sit comfortably in the same posture each day. Find a comfortable position and make sure to keep that posture at all times. I used to always slouch when playing video games, but I kept reminding myself to sit up straight, and over time I got used to it. Maybe put a sticky note on the side of your monitor to remind yourself. This way there's no inconsistency in your setup, which means less inconsistency in your aim. For tip number 6, I'd say keep everything the same as much as possible. Yes, it's worth upgrading your mouse for a better one if it's broken or if the sensor isn't great on it. A gaming mouse is a good purchase, but so long as you have a mouse with a good sensor, you're good to go. On top of this, don't keep changing your sensitivity. Yes, I understand it's important to find a sensitivity that suits you, but you can watch my other aim guide on how to do that. Once you've found the right sensitivity, stick with it. If you change, you have to let your brain learn everything from scratch pretty much. Next, let's talk about a lack of information. So if you don't give your brain enough information to go off of, how is it going to aim on target? What do I mean by this? Well, for example, can you actually see the players you're trying to aim at? Are you even focusing on them? In this section, I'll be talking about how you can give your brain the crispest, clearest plan of what you want it to do. Starting with tip 7, turn off hit markers. This is something that I suggested before, and many of you in the comments told me how much of a difference it makes. By turning off hit markers, it becomes far easier to see where your crosshair is in relation to the player you are shooting, and you won't miss consecutive shots. It makes it so much easier to track players with full auto weapons and line up the next shot with single fire weapons. You can still see how much damage you are doing and can tell when shots register by the damage numbers that will still appear to the side of the player you are shooting. For number 8, I'd say make sure you have the game run at a consistent frame rate. Not everybody can do this, but if you really care about your aim, it's something you'll need to invest in. This may not be so relevant for console players, but for PC players it's absolutely important. Luckily, Ryzen is launching some very good processors in July, so make sure to keep an eye out for that. For our final tip, I'd like to talk about learning to relax. If you get panicky when you get into a fight, you won't be able to focus as much and you won't be able to determine what's actually happening on screen. This means your brain is probably not quite being given the information it needs. Let's say your brain needs you to tell it where the player is. You can do this simply by looking at the screen. If you seize up, jump, jitter or blink when getting shot at, you aren't going to focus so much and your brain is going to be left trying to fill in the blanks. So how can you stay relaxed and focused? Firstly, the more you play, the more you'll get used to engagements and you'll learn to relax over time. However, if you still struggle to stay calm, the best tip I can give you is to breathe. Breathe in deeply and slowly whilst fighting, and it'll be like time itself has slowed down. Sounds really weird, but trust me, learn to relax and it'll be far easier to control your aim. So in summary, here are the tips I covered. 1. Get enough sleep and drink more water. 2. Take short breaks or switch your jump location to refresh your mind. 3. Change your skins for another brain freshener. 4. Talk to yourself about your actions in game to help stay focused. 5. Get a good chair and focus on consistent posture. 6. Keep the same hardware but upgrade it if yours isn't good enough. Keep the same sensitivity. 7. Turn off hit markers. 8. Get a PC that can run a consistent frame rate. 9. Learn to relax. One final thing to say is that these tips are more aimed towards those that already have good aim but are just inconsistent. If that's you, I strongly feel these tips will help. If you just have bad aim in general, make sure to watch my aim training guide. I'll put a link in the description. Alright, let me know your thoughts on these tips. I'll see you in the comments. Cheerio!